there, my name is Kaili Warmington, and I'm a child and youth counselor at Open Doors for Lanark Children and Youth. Did you know that as many as 1 in 5 children or youth in Ontario will experience some form of mental health problem? Or that 5 out of 6 of those kids won't receive the treatment that they need? This year, 59% of parents have noted recent behavioral changes in their child, including drastic changes in their mood and personality. This year has been so trying for so many of us. Now, more than ever, conversations about mental health are so important. Tomorrow, January 28th, is Bell Let's Talk Day. Open Doors for Lanark Children and Youth continues to strive to positively impact the lives of the children, youth, and families that we work with, and break down the stigma of mental illness in the Lanark County. Today, for Wellness Wednesday, we will be answering some very important questions we were asked by people in our community about mental health and services from Open Doors. Please enjoy and continue to work alongside us in breaking down the stigma of mental health in our community. Thank you.
Hi, I am Katie Torson, and I am a registered psychotherapist and one of the counselors working here at Open Doors for Lanark Children and Youth. So I am answering one of the questions that we received, which was, are the signs of depression the same in children as they are in adults? And this is a really good question and one that's a little bit complex. So the short answer is yes, and the long answer is it depends on the person. It's complicated, very much in the same way that it is with adults. So one of the main differences between children and adults is that children have a lot more difficulty regulating their emotions on their own, right? That's a skill set that we often encourage parents to try to model and teach to their children, because something that you, if you have a child, have very likely come across is that if a child is going through something, whether that's anger or anxiety or sadness, and you try to just directly ask them what's wrong, you might not get very much out of them. You might be met with a lack of an answer entirely. If you have a teenager, you might be met with kind of, being rebuffed or maybe an eye roll or like not an answer. With a child, you might just see the behavior continuing to exist or escalate. And the reason for that is usually because either they are in such a emotional place and the emotion is so overwhelming that they can't answer you. They don't have the language for it. Or the other thing might be that they themselves don't really understand what they're experiencing or what is going on, and they literally do not have the language for it. Even if they were more calm, they wouldn't be able to explain it. So one of the things that we talk about a lot that I won't go super in depth into because we actually do have some videos posted on our Facebook and available for you to view on this subject, is we talk a lot about being able to model and teach that emotional regulation skill to your child. And this is usually done through a method called PACE. So two of our clinicians, Sandra LeBlanc and Allison Gray, did a really informative video all about PACE, and they even did a role play scenario to demonstrate PACE in action. And I highly recommend checking that video out in order to, be able to help you assist your child through whatever emotional struggles they are having, and also help them to be able to communicate with you and connect with you around what they're experiencing. But I will say that in terms of depression, sometimes it might look exactly like how you would expect it to look. Sometimes you might notice that your child is quite sad. You might notice that they're very reserved or quiet. You might notice that they're struggling with things that they normally don't struggle with. So maybe they're social butterflies and suddenly they're having a really difficult time engaging with their peers. Maybe their schoolwork is suffering. Maybe you're getting a lot of calls home or just notes of concern from teachers, things like that. It might look very directly like sadness and like the kind of lethargy that we see with depression. In some cases, the vulnerability of being sad and showing that as an emotion might be really overwhelming for them. So then you might see anger, right? Then you might see, a lot of lashing out or outbursts, or, depending how old they are, you might see some aggression, things like that, right? Because the function of anger is to push people away from us, right? And if they are really noticing or even experiencing and don't quite know what it is, sadness, which is a very vulnerable emotion, they might really want to protect themselves from demonstrating that to other people, especially if they've had any traumatic situations in their life or just experiences in general where they felt like they were being punished for expressing emotions, or even, just mocked or made fun of by peers or other people for experiencing emotions. They might default to anger and things like that. And sometimes anxiety and depression can, become quite mixed up in the sense that they might look really similar, or sometimes, or actually a lot of the time, there might be depression and anxiety kind of working together, right? Anxiety about the future or about a situation that makes them really nervous and feel a lot of those heightened emotions from that. But then maybe a depression as well about the fact that this feels like such an impossible to change situation, or they feel so stuck, or they don't know how to ask for help, right? So those two things might also be happening a little bit at the same time. So again, long answer, complex, can look quite different. But the short answer is that, yeah, you will very likely notice that something is going on with your child. And in terms of how to approach that with them and what to do about it, again, I refer you to the beautiful work that was done by my coworkers explaining the idea of PACE, which is a wonderful, wonderful tool for connection that can really, really help you get to the bottom of what is going on with your child in a way that won't create, a shutdown for them, or just leave you with even more questions and no answers. And it's a really beautiful way to also model those emotional regulation skills to your child so that if they are experiencing something like that, not only will they feel comfortable connecting with you about that, but they'll also learn how to regulate some of that emotion on their own, so that they don't always need to, have the support of others to deal with that.
Hi there, my name is Jessica, and I am the music therapy intern here at Open Doors. I'm here to answer the question, what are some exercises that I can do with my child? So number one, take a body break, put some music on and dance and move along. One person can be in charge of stopping that music, and everybody has to freeze when that happens. Get some alertness into the day and work on attention as well. Number two is create a bedtime ritual. So find a playlist or create a playlist of calming music, read a story, and snuggle or talk before bed as a routine. And number three is share physical affection. So hugs, self hugs as a self calming mechanism, and take big breaths for a bit of emotional regulation help when needed.
So this question is about how a 4-year-old may show signs of anxiety. So it's not unusual for kids, even young ones, to sometimes feel anxious, but it can be confusing for parents to know if their children are truly struggling with an anxiety disorder, possibly another mental health struggle, or even just reacting to their environment and life situation at the time. It's important to recognize the signs that your child may have. So some physical signs are complaining of headaches or stomach aches, refusing to eat, restless, fidgety, hyperactive, or distracted, sweating or shaking, tensing of the muscles, or having trouble falling asleep or staying asleep. Some emotional signs are crying a lot, very sensitive, grouchy, angry, is afraid of making even minor mistakes, panic attacks, worrying about things that are far in the future, or being scared or afraid of things that they can't control. Some behavioral signs of anxiety are if your child asks what if constantly, remaining silent or preoccupied when expected to work with others. They may refuse to go to school or avoid social situations with other kids. They may constantly seek approval from parents, caregivers, teachers, and friends. They may say, I can't do it without any real reason. And there could be some meltdowns or tantrums. So to find out what may be causing anxiety, observe your child and take notes on what you're seeing. Keep in mind that anxiety is common in kids who struggle in school, so it's important to ask your child's teacher if they might be having any learning or behavior challenges. You can also reach out to a doctor whether your child's anxiety is something you should look
Another great question that we got and I will be answering is, does Open Doors offer programs for all ages or just teens? So Open Doors serves children, youth, and their families. So that means ages 0 to 18. Based on age and individual need, Open Doors will recommend which program we think will best fit you and your family. However, with that being said, children under the age of 12 will always need parental consent before participating in any Open Doors programming.
One of the questions we received is what services are available to my family during the pandemic? Which is a great question. A lot of places have different services or things that look quite different given the considerations that we need to make in order to keep everybody safe. And one of the things that we have done at Open Doors is we have started to offer virtual or phone talk-in sessions. So if you have been familiar with service with Open Doors before, you might remember that we had a walk-in clinic, and the talk-ins function in basically the exact same way. The beauty of the talk-in sessions is that you can give us a call whenever you feel that you need help, you or your child, and you can say, hey, I need to talk to somebody. And our admin coordinator will go ahead and put you in a designated talk-in spot with one of our counselors. Nearly all of our staff are currently available for talk-in sessions. So there's a wide variety of skill sets and different expertise that is available. We have some who are very, very used to and skilled at working with children under 12. We have some who are fantastic at working with adolescents. We have those who work a lot with parents and caregivers. So there's a whole variety of different skill sets and expertise available for the talk-in sessions. Talk-in sessions do need to be booked within 48 hours of our admin coordinator contacting you or your child. And that is just to ensure that we can complete an appropriate risk assessment, make sure that everyone is okay. And if you need to have a talk-in session that is scheduled outside of the 48-hour time window, whether that's because of your schedule or availability, or because you're requesting a specific clinician or counselor with whom you've spoken in the past, then what we do is we go ahead and arrange for somebody to just call and check in with you at some point in between your first contact and your scheduled talk-in session, and they'll just do a short phone call with you to make sure that everything is going okay. And if in those conversations we find out that there is some level of risk, then we go ahead and get you connected sooner. So that is the first point of contact right now. On top of the talk-in sessions, we do continue to offer other services. So for example, if someone calls for a talk-in and one of their service needs is that they would really like to have a telepsychiatry consult, we can make that happen and that can be arranged. So when you have your talk-in session, part of that conversation, aside from, whatever it is that you're stuck with, whatever it is that you're dealing with, it might be a conversation around, hey, I think that in our case, maybe we need a little bit of something else. Maybe we need connection to a specific kind of service. And your clinician will be able to talk with you about that and let you know about some of the other services that you can be aligned with and some of the other things that are available.
A question that parents may have a lot is 4 years old too young to start counseling for my child? So it can be difficult and confusing for parents to know when their child needs counseling and if they may be considered too young. 4 years old isn't necessarily too young to start counseling and will just require active participation from the parents or guardians involved in the child's life. Caregivers do play a huge role in the growth and development in a child's life, as they do learn heavily from the environment that they are exposed to. With children under 12, parents always need to consent for their child to receive service, but it is also very important that parents are engaged and involved with their child when receiving counseling. This will ensure that the parents are receiving the same information as their children and can help transfer learning and interventions from the child's counselor to the home and school environments. With young children, some common ways to experience counseling would be through play therapy, experiential learning, games and activities, and ways to cope with behavior and emotions. Counselors will often work with caregivers as well around parenting, education, and support. Children of all ages can participate in counseling, but if you're unsure if your child would benefit from the service, you can always contact Open Doors to speak with our staff or consult with other support professionals as well.
One of the questions that we were asked is, what is the best way to ask my child about their mental health, not just how are you doing? I think that this is a really great point because so many of us, myself included, are guilty of asking, "How are you doing?" in passing, and a quick and easy response from someone is, "I'm good" or "I'm okay," without us really stopping and diving deep into what "I'm good" or "I'm okay" means for that person. There should be a few moments throughout the day that you dedicate completely to conversation with your child or youth. No phone, no TV or other screens, so there's no distractions. It could be during dinner or tidying up from dinner, when you're playing or coloring together, or during bedtime routine. When you're having these conversations, be sure to ask specific questions like, "What was your favorite part of today?" or "What was your least favorite?" You could ask them questions about a challenge that they faced throughout the day or something that they're really proud of. When you ask these specific, deliberate questions, it will give your child the opportunity to open up, but it'll also give you the opportunity to get some insight into your child and how they're really doing. And then you can follow up with questions or comments depending on what their answers are. Asking your child how they are is really important, and we know that, but following up with those questions afterwards is also equally as important.
Does Open Doors offer programs for children of all ages or just for teens? So we do have a couple of groups that we run that are specific to teens. So we have our youth engagement group and our peer-to-peer groups, which currently are both being run virtually. But we also do offer different programs for children of all ages. Often we do run different groups for specific topics that children might need support in. So for example, we've done anxiety groups in the past, groups that help children to deal with separation and divorce, groups that are about mindfulness, a whole variety of topics. And we do continue to offer these things throughout the pandemic. So far, we have run a virtual anxiety group, one that was through the school board, and then one that was directly through the agency. So when we do offer groups through the agency, we will post about it on our website and on social media, and parents can call in and ask for their child to be part of these groups. When you call, if you have any questions, for example, for children under 12, you might have some questions around custody or access arrangements if it's joint custody with another parent, and our admin coordinators can walk you through the process of what we would need in terms of consent or documentation in those specific cases. So if you do ever see any opportunities that are posted on our social media or our website and you are curious, please feel free to call and inquire. Or if you don't see anything posted and you're just curious about, potential upcoming groups or how to get your children involved in things like our youth engagement or a peer-to-peer group, please feel free to give us a call and inquire, and we'll be happy to help you out.